You're listening to The Wedding Whisperer with Sarah Burton of Simply Love Studio in Lexington, Kentucky. Today's guest is Danielle Mullins with Glamour by Danielle. And Danielle may be somebody that you have seen come across my social media feed, or maybe even the past 5 or 6 years if you have been around for a while. Danielle actually interned with Simply Love Studio in the spring of 2019, and I have stayed in touch with her since then and follow her journey from graduating from Eastern, going into the pageant world, winning Miss Earth USA, which was huge, and then now being a successful wedding hair and makeup artist. Danielle, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. It's good to see you again.
Yes. Yeah. See you on social media. I don't know how long it's been in person.
I hope it wasn't the last time I interned for you.
Honestly, it may have been. Like, I see people on social media, and it's just like I see them in real life. So
Right.
I want to, before we even get started today, tell me a little bit about your history in the pageant world and just a quick overview of what Miss Earth is and you winning Miss Earth USA.
Man, it feels almost like a fever dream at this point. So I had grown up doing pageants, and I think a lot of it was to help build my self-confidence. I mean, I just love all the things over the top, bougie, glamorous, fabulous. So for me, that was a great creative outlet. But the more that I got on stage and had to speak into a microphone and talk to people, I realized just how shy and insecure in myself I was. So that helped build me up. I got to a point, though, that I was so focused on becoming what I thought the judges wanted me to be to win. I wasn't winning, and it was just defeating more than anything. So I actually stepped away when I was 18 and then came across the Miss Earth system, and it's so environmentally focused, which aligns with a lot of my core values. I think people look at me and they're always surprised to see I'm just a girl that grew up on a farm. To be so over the top and extra and into all this, yes, I just grew up on a farm, so that's where like literally my roots are, and I loved what they stood for, and I wanted to be a part of it. So realized I had some things I needed to do differently, and had to, in a sense, humble myself to admit like, okay, where are my wrongdoings? Where can I grow from here? But like they say, all great things come outside of your comfort zone, and all great things come when you're willing to grow. So I focused on that, and I took my hand at Miss Kentucky Earth twice. Was not successful the first time, but successful the second time. I think that's always such a testament to, I say resilience, but some people might say my stubbornness. I think both go hand in hand. But then just kept that focus, and then went on to win the Miss Earth USA pageant. Got to spend 5 weeks in Asia competing for the international Miss Earth title, and I made top 20 out of everybody on the entire planet. So that's my quick glance into the pageant world. Loved my time with it. I still do a lot of pageant hair and makeup. I say it's like a cult. Once you're in, you can never leave. But it's opened a lot of doors for me.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
So talking about hair and makeup, when did you really get started in the glam world?
Let's see. So in college, I had started selling cosmetics, and that was supposed to be something I could do from a dorm room and be able to have meals that weren't from the college cafeteria. And I really fell in love with it. I love the idea of being in business for myself. And I really honed in on that when my dad was sick, and I got to take the time off I needed to go and be with him and help care for him. When his family, and our family, I should say, was coming to see him to say their goodbyes as he was in his final stages of life, thought about just him and everything he had planned for after retirement, I realized that I didn't want to be in the same boat. And I wanted to be able to like make those memories now and not wait until it was too late. So self-employment became through, honestly, just being in sales, some college kid in her dorm, wanting to eat a better meal became a new opportunity for me. And I actually swore I would never do hair and makeup. In learning about the products to better sell them and practicing on my face or maybe even on somebody else's face to just demo the products, I got kind of good at it. But still, I was like, no, this is not for me. I would never, ever want to do this full time. And, you know, it's funny how they say you should never say never, because that's where I am today.
So you went from starting in the dorm room selling cosmetics, and I know that you work for a portrait studio in Georgetown,
Yes,
doing makeup for their clients as well in the pageant world. Is that kind of how you started in the pageant world?
So with the sales, I went through this phase of my life where I was just saying yes to new opportunities. I had actually wound up switching colleges. That's where I came to Eastern. I took a semester off college, which everybody says not to do, but I think it was an important part of the growth. And in just saying yes to opportunities, I helped a girl in my hometown, a local pageant. Didn't think much of it, just showed up to do her hair and makeup. Cutest, sweetest little preteen girl I've ever met in the world. And I met another girl who does pageant hair and makeup full time, and she asked me if I would travel with her. Sight unseen, had just met me, saw the girl and I walking around. Don't know what came across her to ask me to travel with her, and I don't know why I said yes, because, that's kind of stranger danger. I think about that all the time. I said yes to somebody I don't even know, agreed to travel with them.
And honestly, I think that's something every entrepreneur would do or has done.
Yes. But I loved what I could see her doing. And I was like, you know what? I should give this a try. So I gave it a try and I kept it pretty part-time, started as assisting her. But then when she had her first child, she asked me to help step in with some of her clients for her maternity leave. And I had graduated college. The pandemic happened. I was still kind of figuring out what exactly I wanted to do with life. I had picked up a job bartending, trying to just pay the bills and then have some free time to figure out, okay, what do I really want to do at the end of the day? And when I was hiding in the bathroom at the bar to see how the clients were doing and trying to switch shifts so that I could go be at the pageants, I realized where I really wanted to be. So that was my intro to it. And my being at the bar was my final push to realize, okay, I would much rather be with the clients. I'd much rather be artistic. I love getting to glam people. And it's ironic that I once said I would never do it. And here I am.
How did we get from pageants to brides and wedding makeup?
I think what a lot of people miss is that the two actually go pretty hand in hand. I think when they first think of wedding makeup, they think something natural, which I hate the word natural and light and simple and pretty. And so they would think, something like pageant glam is way too much, too over the top. But actually, a lot of the photos you see look so good because they are more full glam than people realize in order to look good for the photos that are going to be blown out with the lights, whether it be, a light that a photographer brought from the natural lighting. A lot of your Pinterest inspo pictures that girls see are blown out with the lights that the makeup artist brings. The makeup's a lot heavier than people oftentimes realize, but having someone who can specialize in stage and photography, you do work in a photography studio as well, helps get that perfect makeup look so that you're happy with your pictures, so that, as you walk down the aisle, what all of your friends and family are seeing is going to be different than what you see up close in a mirror that's 6 inches from your face. It's about the viewing. It's about the distance, the lighting. There's a lot of factors that play into it. And so once I realized that and people saw what I was doing in the pageant world and loved it, and oh my goodness, and some of my pageant girls now are becoming brides. It's so full circle. So now they want me for their weddings as well because I've been with them for so long and for so many of their monumental moments through pageantry. So really the two just go hand in hand, I think, more than people realize.
One of the things that I always tell my brides too is if they tell me they're not going to have a makeup artist and they want to do it themselves, when you do your own makeup, I can put my makeup on at 8 a.m. and I can put all the setting spray, all of the primer, all of the things on my face. Realistically, by 4 or 5, 60 to 70% of it's off. The first time I had airbrush makeup, I literally scrubbed it off at 11 or 12 o'clock that night. And truthfully, when I had it done another time, I slept in it because it looks so freaking good that I was like, what's it going to look like tomorrow? And I might have wore it half of the day the next day because it looks so freaking good. I don't know what you all do to make the makeup last, but it's not going anywhere when you use a professional.
That's so true. And I think that's something that, a lot of people don't take into account when it comes to booking their hair and makeup for their wedding day is that you really need something that's going to last. Like if your wedding is outside, this Kentucky heat, honey, it does something. It does a number to you. But then you have your dinner and there's the dancing. And the last thing you want is to get your pictures back from your reception and you look like you've been drug out to the club until 4 a.m. Now, maybe you have been, but we don't want to look like it. So it does help to have a professional who can just look at your skin and who knows, okay, this is your skin type. You're going to need this to make it better, or who does use higher quality products to ensure that it's going to last.
When a bride is looking at a makeup artist, typically they will find them on Instagram or word of mouth. Whenever they are asking the artist in the initial communication back and forth, what are things that they should ask? Are there certain products that you do or don't provide? What are kind of the basics?
So I pretty much have all products in my kit. Now, if somebody was to come to me and tell me that, and I've seen this happen actually once before, they want literal rainbow colors on their eyelids and rhinestones. And I'm telling you, I've only ever seen it once. Most of my brides I get want like the more neutral tones. I don't like the word natural. We're going to call it neutral tones. That's a great time to give a heads up and say, I just really want something out of the box and different. And a great time to send an inspiration photo and let them know ahead of time, because something like rhinestones and neons, rainbow colors are not always something that I personally keep in my kit. It's not something that I see a lot in weddings, definitely not in pageants. So that could use a little bit of a heads up. But for the most part, I would say like definitely send that inspo picture. I would send an inspo picture that kind of resembles your look, whether it be like in the skin tone coloring, your hair coloring, the eye coloring, so you can kind of get an idea and a feel for how it's going to play on you. This is a great time to let your hair and makeup artist know if you have skin allergies. You don't want to show up to the trial, or if you didn't do a trial, to the wedding day and be like, oh, by the way, I'm actually allergic to everything you brought. So now that you have however long to do my makeup figured out. If you do have allergies, you can always, some of my clients will opt to bring their own products just because they know that's a tried and true, that's what works. But it does help to just let your makeup artist know in advance, just to make sure there's not something that's overlooked. Oh my gosh, you don't want to break out on your wedding day. That would be miserable. Another thing too, would probably be to let them know of any kind of sensitivities. Like for me, I'm personally so tender-headed. I hate to have somebody brush my hair. Just give me the hairbrush. I'll give you the hair. That's always a good heads up. And then anything else that you've just kind of noticed, like maybe your makeup settles here, or maybe, I had a bride with a birthmark on her eye once, and she wanted to make sure I was going to be able to color correct it and properly conceal it. So anything that you just know that already is something that you're mindful of, just relay that to your hair and makeup artist.
Do you sanitize your brushes after every person, after every wedding? Is it assumed that every makeup artist does that? Is that something you need to ask them?
I would definitely say it's assumed that most do. I definitely do. I'm crazy about my sanitation. I actually wear gloves when I work just to provide like an extra barrier between me and the client. I typically keep enough brushes on me that I can use a brand new set of brushes on each person for the day. But should somebody add on last minute, I've always got brush cleaner so I can properly clean and sanitize. Like to have a clean set of brushes to put on somebody. If your makeup artist does not clean their brushes, you do not want them. I think it's kind of like driving. A lot of people pass the driver's test and get a driver's license, but not everybody should be on the road. So just because your hair and makeup artist can brag and say like, oh, well, I've done this and that, and I've got this sanitation certification, that's where your trial run is going to come in handy, so you can really see what is it that they're doing. Are they putting the lipstick from the tube right on you? Because that's a big no-no. Are they taking the eyelash glue, dipping it in the tube and putting it on you? Like anything that comes out of a tube should never come straight to your skin. It should go onto a brush, onto a disposable. And if it's going onto a brush, that brush doesn't need to touch, again, that same thing going back into a tube. There's so much that goes into it to really just make sure there's no cross-contamination. It's one of those that, yes, you can always ask your hair and makeup artist, but I think for you to just get to see in person is going to really bring that peace of mind to know that they're on it.
How far before the wedding would you recommend that a bride do a makeup trial?
I would say at least 3 months. There's so much that goes into it because your skin's going to change with the weather. Another thing to think about too is if you're going to spray tan for your wedding, make sure you get a spray tan for your trial run because it's going to make a difference in how your makeup looks. For me, when I'm tan, I have an entirely different makeup routine from when I have on absolutely no tan because the colors just sit differently on your skin. You need to think about too what you're doing with your esthetician. Are you getting your face dermaplanned for your wedding? Well, make sure you get it dermaplanned for your trial run. And if you're not getting it dermaplanned, I'm going to highly recommend it while we're right here. It makes a difference in how your makeup's going to stay on your skin. But think too, what type of facials, is there a chemical peel you're wanting to do before your wedding? I would try that before the trial run to know how your skin will react to everything. have it done again for the trial run, and then again before the wedding. So I would say probably 3 months is like a good rough time estimate just to get you in the same weather season, but then not too terribly far out. Everybody's going to forget everything, change their mind, but still kind of close enough. I mean, you can always do something sooner, but I would say 3 months is probably a good safe bet.
And we've talked a lot about makeup, but you also do some hair as well. I know that Hollywood waves and updos are really your thing, but you're not so much into the braids because it's so much extra time, and you really want to make sure that you have time for everybody, especially the bride on the wedding day.
Absolutely.
And we've talked a little bit about how some brides are hiring a hair and makeup person just for them, and then hiring a hair and makeup person for the bridesmaids and the moms, so that the bride really gets the full service, full attention, and is not rushed.
I love that idea to bring somebody else for the bride and somebody else for the bridesmaids. For me this year, I've been actually hiring on women to come be on my team to help assist me so that we can provide this type of service. Now, of course, if you are a bride who wants your own hair and makeup stylist for the day, I would be prepared to spend a lot extra to offset the cost of, having just one person there to do it all. But it does help to have your own personalized time. Your day's not rushed. You can get your hair and makeup done wherever. You're not necessarily fit into a schedule somewhere. I would say it's not a must-have for your day to have your own hair and makeup artist. I mean, if you only have, let's say, 3 bridesmaids, it's going to be hard enough to just meet the minimum for the hair and makeup artist or the team as well. So if you want one, I would say go for it. It always, is just an added luxury for the day. It's, a day you're only gonna, fingers crossed, hopefully do once. But kind of touching back on the hair, I do love the updos. I do love the Hollywood waves. I would say that my personal style is more the glam side and not so much boho, where we see like the braids, the fishtail braids, and all sorts of cute, fun things. Like I would say I'm probably, for your glam brides who want their fairy tale princess wedding.
One thing you just mentioned that I did not have in my notes, and I'm so glad you said it, was hitting minimums. And brides have not been through this process of hiring a hair and makeup person for their wedding before, so they don't know these things. And that's why we have this podcast. So when it comes to having a minimum on a Saturday especially, or a holiday weekend, we'll say that is $750. I'm just throwing a number out there. That means that your hair and or makeup artist will have a $750 minimum that you have to spend on services before they will come to you. And that can be on you, that can be on your bridesmaids, that can be on moms, that can be on aunts, flower girls. All of that can add up to that. That just basically means that your services have to equal that amount dollar-wise. There's so many things that every artist, hair and or makeup have. Your kits. You have your team that is not at a pageant that day. They're not in a salon that day. It is your full day of work, and most likely you're starting at 6, 7, 8 a.m. There are some times where I have seen wedding hair and makeup have to start as early as 5 and 6. There are some hair and makeup artists that do have an additional fee if it's starting before a certain time, because it is so early, and most of us are not morning people. So I completely get that. You can be there if it's a larger bridal party, 6, 8, even 10 hours. And then sometimes the hair and or makeup artist can even stay up until after the ceremony and do a touch-up, do a complete redo from the ceremony to the reception. So there's a lot of ways to hit your minimum, and every artist is going to have a different minimum. But if you are a bride looking to have someone come to you on the wedding day, most likely they will not come for just one person. And that's nothing against you. It's just financially, they have to have that. So anytime there's just 1 or 2 people getting services, I recommend going into a salon. There's Dry Bar, there's Below Lexington in the Summit. They do hair and makeup there. Or any of the salons typically will bring you in whatever time you need that morning, usually if it's just a couple of people.
Yeah, that's such a great point to bring up. There's so much that goes into it that, if you haven't been in this industry before, you might not understand, because this is also it's a weekend. Most people don't work for themselves. My family does not work for themselves. So for me to come for you on your wedding, just remember, I'm here with you and not my own family, but I'm there because I love what I do. I'm happy to make your big day special. So that is why things like this do come with a price tag and with a minimum to it. And, again, it's keeping me and my team away from pageants. It's keeping us out of salons. You can always, I think what brides miss is that they can just pay the minimum fee and somebody would come for them. If that's an added, expense you want for yourself, if you can afford that luxury,
Absolutely.
by all means, go for it.
Yeah.
We're not going to stop you. This is your special day. But if you don't, you can always opt to come to your hair and makeup artist. I think what you just suggested, even like something like the dry bar, is a great option as well. So even if, you're not getting somebody to you, if it's just you, you can easily travel out to somebody else.
And sometimes if you want mom or mother-in-law to not be in your hair that morning, it's good to send them to the salon and, get them out of there for a little bit and you can spend time with your wedding party. And one of the things we just kind of glazed over a little bit are trials. Talk to me about what happens in a hair and makeup trial.
Of course, I start with just basic series of questions. Do you have skin allergies? What are some things that when you do your own makeup that you like to be done? Like, do you like it when your eyes look big? Do you like it when your eyebrows are fluffy? Do you like them more groomed? What are some things you don't like? Do you not like the overdrawn lips? Do you not like winged liner? So then we kind of create a basis of where to start from. We look at the inspo pictures. Sometimes we have to set that expectation versus reality because photo editing has, really taken off. I understand why a lot of artists choose to do it because photos don't translate what we see in person. But some of the editing, my goodness, it's not even real. It's not attainable. It's not possible. So make sure that when your artist tells you this is edited, this is not possible, you don't think they're lying to you. It's just actually the truth. But also, if you're doing, let's say with me for hair services, being realistic and comparing the hair. If you're somebody who just doesn't have a lot of hair and you're bringing me this gorgeous picture of Hollywood waves that could put Rapunzel to shame, well, let's talk about some fake hair we can get you. And, fake hair is very common. Nothing wrong with it. I've found great pieces on Amazon I love. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Personally, I really love clip-ins. I'm always going to opt for that. I prefer that over something like a sew-in, especially if you want an updo because it just gives more room to work with and I can place the tracks however I want them. If, you need more volume in the crown, I can move them there. It can be more flexible with it than something that's just in your head and only going to move one way. So there's my piece there on the actual hair part and kind of setting expectations. But as far as the trial, I like to start where my brides can kind of see themselves and just run through the process together and say, okay, what about this? Is this something you like? Or even saying, this might look crazy right now, but let me get through this. And then we'll assess and see if this is kind of where we like things or if there's something we want to move. Because sometimes just adding the lashes on changes everything. I hate my makeup 99% of the time, but then you put on those lashes and it's like the final polishing piece that brings it all together. And it's like, oh, wow. Okay, there it all is. This is what I needed it to do. It's like a puzzle, it's just missing that one little piece and kind of being patient and trusting the process and not getting too terribly scared when you see maybe setting powder baking under your eyes or whatever craziness that the makeup day might bring.
I think trusting the process is literally the number one
it's
key
so
takeaway
hard.
for this.
It's so hard. Even sometimes, just looking at, if you're doing like a liquid blush before it gets blended out, it is terrifying to look at. But once it's blended, it's so nice. It's so beautiful. And the setting powder too sometimes will tone some things down. So it's trusting the process is key. If I could put that on a t-shirt and wear it, I think I would like every day.
And I've had some brides send me selfies once they have gotten their hair and makeup trial done and they're freaking out. It could be too little makeup. It could be too much makeup. The eyes are too much. The eyes are too little. The lipstick is too much. I try to tell them, to not freak out. This is why we're doing trials.
Exactly.
I am seeing more brides do a second trial for their makeup now more than ever. I think that goes back to the edited photos that they're seeing, but they also want to feel comfortable. And it is completely okay. And honestly, at this point, it's completely normal to do a second trial.
Oh, yeah. I've had brides do it before. I think brides sometimes just don't want to hurt your feelings. This is what I feel that I've seen. And while I appreciate that, I am here to make your day fabulous. So please feel like you're going to hurt my feelings.
That's great. Yeah. That's great advice.
You can totally hurt my feelings, which
it's not hurting your feelings at all.
This is what you want, not what I want.
Yeah.
If it was what I want, then I don't know what we're doing here. This is your big day.
They want until they tell you, or what they like or what they don't like until they tell you. Like when you're sitting in the hair salon and you've gotten your hair cut and they're like, do you like it? And you're like, I don't know. And sometimes you need to walk out. You need to see it in your light. You need to go home. You need to put it in a ponytail. You need to fill it out yourself before you come back with feedback. That is completely okay.
Absolutely. I had a bride once and there was just so much, somewhere along the line, miscommunication on exactly what she wanted. And when it got to the wedding day, turns out she just didn't want eyeshadow. And so for us to have gone through the trials, no wonder she wasn't happy. She didn't want the eyeshadow, but somewhere in her inspiration photos that were probably overly edited and in communication with me, that was just totally missed. So that's why a second trial is important. Don't be afraid to say like, this isn't something I like, but even actually to go home and just let it sit and kind of see how it does. Something, if you're maybe on Accutane, is going to make makeup sit on your skin differently than not. I've seen a lot of women, if they're on Accutane at this point, makeup doesn't want to stay on their face and it wants to slide off. So that's an entirely different process in itself. So for you to go home with it and say, okay, actually, I don't like the way this settled on my skin, something's different, then you can come back for your second trial. We can make some tweaks in the skincare prep, maybe even switch out some products for you. And then you're going to have makeup that stays and you're not getting to your wedding day like, okay, I just made it through the ceremony and now I have no makeup. So now what do I do? We don't want that to happen. We want you to have the best day possible. It's why we do what we do. It's why we spend the amount of money we spend on our products and our training is so you can have a great day. So you just have to communicate with us what you want.
Perfect. And we've talked about all of the things, but we have not talked about price range for having wedding hair and makeup. This is an area just like every other wedding vendor where prices are all across the board. It depends on what style you want, how many you're going to have, if the artist is going to stay through the ceremony and change things out. I know you can't really give me a specific price. Can you give me a range that they could put in their budget to plan for wedding hair and makeup?
I'm going to say with bridesmaids, I've seen a singular service such as like just hair or just makeup. For maybe just makeup, I want to say I've seen it start at $100. I've not seen anybody with a price less than $100 for bridesmaids makeup. And then for hair, probably, I would say about the same, maybe every now and then a $75 if they're just super simple, like you're going to get 20 minutes on your hair. Because really the attention is on the bride. Most of the bridesmaid work is so simple. For brides themselves, I would say I don't think I've seen makeup lower than $150. And another thing too to always keep in mind with the price point, like yes, there might be somebody cheaper, but what comes into play too is the experience. Are they just, putting the makeup on you and then they're done for the day and you're done in 30 minutes? Or is this actually like a relaxation moment, a luxurious experience? So I would say probably anywhere from like $150 to $250 for just a singular makeup, like just for the bride. And that's just makeup, not the trial run, not any of the parties, not staying, anything like that. When it comes to having a makeup artist stay, I've seen some variation in pricing. Some people just have like an a la carte pricing and it's, an additive fee, but I've seen some people do hourly pricing. I would probably expect more so hourly pricing because it can get to be just so late at night. And then if your hair and makeup artist has traveled for you, that's another added fee to think about. I want to say I'm seeing like on average $1 a mile and typically anything, I want to say over 30 miles people are starting to charge for. But, you got to think about too, if your hair and makeup artist has traveled so far, do they need to get a hotel? Are you flying your hair and makeup artist out? I've seen this too.
That is a real thing.
It really is. I mean, when you have somebody that just knows your face and you love their work, and especially when you've built a bond and a relationship with that person, if it's someone you've been with for a while, it makes all the difference. I'm just going to go and throw it out there. I think that's my best advice for how to pick out your hair and makeup person is how well you get along with them, because you don't want somebody on your day you can't stand. And you don't want somebody on your day who's a negative Nelly. You want somebody who's going to be able to be a part of the vibe that you have going on, help add to the experience of the day. If you want somebody to calm your nerves, you need somebody who's chill and not going to come in at 5 a.m. like they're on their third cup of coffee for the day. You need somebody who can just blend well with you. So those are important things to think about too. But pricing, I would say I'm probably seeing like minimums start at $750. I would say that's definitely on the lower end. Holidays, more so like $1,500. I mean, you want to get married on a holiday.
And that's even if the holiday is a Monday through Friday. New Year's Eve, I think, is maybe a Tuesday this year.
Oh, gosh.
That is a holiday. That means your hair and makeup person has to get up at 4 or 5 a.m. that day to be there. Those are things that when you're picking a holiday that you have to think about. And just like you said, that you're not with your family during those times. And you talked about working with an artist that you have used before. Another one of my interns, Jillian, I think she was 2017, 2018.
I think she was the year before me.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that's how I found you.
Okay, awesome. So she actually got married in Charleston, South Carolina, literally maybe 2 to 3 months ago. And she worked with Doug Smith Designs on her wedding. He did all of the planning. So he went down and did several site visits with her, and she took several vendors from Lexington down with her. And one of those was her makeup artist. I'm not sure what she did about hair, but I know that she took her makeup artist. And it's one of those about knowing the person, knowing their work, and trusting them.
Absolutely. It makes really all the difference in your day. It's somebody you like, somebody you can enjoy. They know your face. They've been with you for a while. And, to have something like a destination wedding, but to then also have a touch of home, there's a piece in that.
I like that.
Thank you. Oh, kind of going back to pricing, though, another thing is deposits.
Yes.
I think people are kind of always shocked by this, that a lot of hair and makeup artists do, I would say 50% up front. That's something I've seen a lot. I've seen some that do less. I've not seen anybody that does more, but most deposits are non-refundable. You have to think that if your date has to get moved for whatever reason, and my fingers are crossed that nothing happens with your actual wedding getting canceled, your hair and makeup artist has turned down other people. Weddings, I would say typically book out within 6 months. That's kind of a range I like to keep myself in. I know some hair and makeup artists will go out a little bit further, but when they've turned down other clients for your day and have missed money, if 2 months beforehand you change the date, they're a little SOL at that point. So I would expect deposits to be non-refundable. When you book, I would expect to be ready to put down at least 50%. Some are maybe not as strenuous on that as others. But then another thing too, I've seen a lot that I think is helpful just to make the wedding day go smooth is paying the balance in advance. In my contract, it says that it's all due in full within 30 days of the wedding. I know on your wedding day, I'm not chasing you down for a check. You get to go do what you want to do. You don't have to think about it. There's no worries there. You're good. I'm good.
That is my preference as somebody that used to do full service planning, that it is paid in advance, because 30 days out, you should know which of your bridesmaids are getting hair and makeup, whichever moms who are doing it. You should know at that point to be able to do your timeline. And like you said, deposit for everyone is non-refundable. If the artist doesn't require a deposit, I would feel a little sketchy about that.
I would too.
I don't think I would feel comfortable because I don't know that I would have them booked.
Right.
Every artist is different. I do think that some that work behind the chair, like Wednesday through Friday, are a little different than specialty makeup type people. And they're probably a little bit more flexible, but I would pay it all ahead of time. And if you are making your bridesmaids pay for theirs, have them Venmo you, PayPal you,
Such good advice.
and you pay it all at once. Do not ask them to send money to the artist. You pay it all at once.
I love that advice. And two, kind of you mentioning if your hair and makeup artist doesn't take a deposit, I would look to see if they have a contract, because I like having everything written out so we can refer back to it and say, okay, well, this is who I have you down for. This is what time I have you getting ready by. If something like a getting ready time, it's a little more flexible to change. But, if you've booked your hair and makeup artist for 10 bridesmaids and then 30 days out, only 5 of them actually want it, well, I would say find 5 more people that want makeup. Or you're probably just going to eat the cost at that point.
And also ask your artists if they're doing more than one wedding on your wedding day.
Good question.
It is nails on a chalkboard for me when somebody says that they do that.
I don't know how they do it.
I don't either. And that's the thing. And they'll be like, oh, we need to fix your timeline so that we can do this. And I'm like, why are we working our timeline around your schedule? You should be working around the bride's schedule.
I could only see that working if you need to be ready by noon and there's a wedding where they don't need to be ready until 8. But even then, with the setup and the takedown and cleaning up of the products, that's a crazy day.
And the second bride isn't going to get the quality of service the first bride got, in my opinion. I know that you and I, we transition from our summer black clothes to our fall black clothes. Do you typically wear all black on a wedding day?
I do. I try to wear something a little bit nicer than I would to, let's just say, a pageant. On pageant days, I'm typically in my athletic wear. So when I'm done with my clients, I can go to the gym. That's force my way to just keep on top of my health and my fitness and not sleep the rest of my day away. If I'm already in the clothes, I have to go. But for a wedding, I like to dress up a little bit nicer. I, end up in some shots for the bride. So I don't want you to get your pictures back and I look like a homeless gremlin that just rolled out of bed. I want to look the part for you. I at least want to have a little effort into my appearance. And, I like to get with the photographer too and get a copy of those pictures for my own personal marketing.
I appreciate that. As someone who used to produce a wedding magazine and looked at several hundred wedding galleries a year, I would be like, what is this person wearing in these photos? Did they just roll out of the bed?
Right.
Clearly, I'm very judgmental and I expect a lot out of people.
I don't think that's expecting a lot. I think that's the bare minimum.
That's the bare minimum, but apparently not to everyone.
I would maybe when people are just starting out, these are things they don't absolutely think about. So I'll give you some graces there. But if you've been in the game for a while and you've not thought about it, I have some questions.
Yeah. Talking about the day of, how long, if we are planning a timeline, usually maybe even 6 to 8 months out, we will start coming up with maybe a ceremony start time. We'll start with what time sunset time is and then kind of work our way back to a ceremony start time. And then from there, work our way back some more. And at that point, it's usually like, okay, the bride's hair and makeup needs to be done by this time. How long do you recommend that we allot for every bridesmaid?
For something like makeup, it always kind of depends on what exactly they want. I tell a bride, I would say 30 to 45 minutes. 30 if you want something just so natural. Like you just want something simple. 45, I would be able to give something a little bit more glam, but still not something to the full extent of the bride. For my brides, I give 90 minutes for makeup. We really have some time. We can stop and chit chat. We're not rushing. I can take some cute pictures of you. We can make all the fun TikToks people love to make on wedding day. I don't want to rush you there. For hair, I like to book about the same kind of timeline-wise as well. But I would actually suggest for a bride, if they have, let's say somebody different for hair and makeup, book your makeup first and then your hair. Because there's nothing worse than getting your hair set how you want it on your face. Let's say like maybe you have some swoop bangs and they come over your forehead. Well, your makeup artist has to move that to get some makeup on your forehead. So I would opt to have makeup done before hair. If you have the same person for the same thing, they can do it however they prefer. I'm going to assume they will probably do the same thing. I know some hairstylists like to set the hair first, maybe curl it, pin curl it, and let that kind of sit before they come back to it. You could totally get that done before makeup as well. So there is some coordination, which I do say is where it helps to have the same hair and makeup person, because they can coordinate all of that, or at least somebody who has a team and can designate separate people for that.
Perfect. When I'm making timelines, I do typically try to buffer an extra 30 to 45 minutes in there.
That's smart.
I might not always tell the hair and makeup person. I might not even tell the bride that.
Don't do that.
Because when you get behind in hair and makeup, it puts everything behind.
Absolutely.
We don't want to take out of your photographer's time. We don't want them standing there with a camera and they have been paid $400 to $600 an hour and they're standing there waiting. We want them working. And so I like to make sure that you are done and ready to roll. That gives you time to eat a little snack. That gives you time to drink some water, go to the bathroom before you put your dress on, and you're not stressed.
I think that's really important. For me, even just making my own schedules, I'm the worst at remembering, you should probably schedule time to just like sit and do nothing for a minute in between. But I'm also one of those too. I know that when I'm in the zone, it's like the day's just gone in a flash. It's mindless for me. I always tell people this is the one job I've had that I don't sit and look at a clock and wonder when I get to be done with my job for a day. So for me, I don't mind kind of pushing through that. But, things do happen. Like, what if your makeup artist has a toddler at home and is still breastfeeding? She's got to stop and pump. You have to think about things like that. And there's so many little humanistic characteristics that we don't think about when it comes to something like this that you do have to account for. I'm glad you do that. I'm glad you encourage that, because accidents happen, or maybe like even trying to get set up. There's no extension cords and people have to move from one spot to the next, or you just really never know.
You mentioned extension cords. You just took me right into my next thing that I had not mentioned yet. Whenever a bride is looking for a getting ready space, what do you recommend they look for?
Something with space. Like, now what you might think is space, what might be great for you is probably not great for a makeup artist. I like to ask my brides, of course, where the wedding is, where the getting ready location is in case it's different. Because I like to kind of look to see what it is and what I need to bring with me. Is their table set up for me, or do I need to pack my own table? Because that's extra junk to lug around. For me, the lighting isn't as important because I do bring my own light set up. I don't rely on natural lighting. If it rains, forget it. I'm done for. I need my own lights. But I love when I can get somewhere and there's just space. There's outlets. I don't have to worry about bringing like an industrial extension cord, which I do bring because you never know, you might need it. I see it with pageants. We're in big venue spaces. But I just want to be able to have space. I want you all to be able to spread out and enjoy yourself. And I don't want us crammed in somewhere where like I'm going to probably elbow you. So I would say make sure that your hair and makeup artist could probably set up one of those foldable tables. I think they're 6 feet by 3 feet, probably, maybe 9 feet by 3 feet. Set up one of those. Think about them. I carry 2 lights with me. I like to be able to offset shadows and even like move one behind me when I work on the back of the hair. So think about, them bringing 2 ring lights, let's say. Some will bring full-on studio lighting. I've fortunately been able to condense mine down. But make room for the table, think about the lights, and then also think about like the actual chair you're going to sit in and somebody literally moving around you to do your hair and makeup. So make sure they're going to have some adequate space there.
There are a lot of venues around here that have great spaces for putting your dress on. They sell it as a bridal suite. In my opinion, it is not a bridal suite / dressing room. Keep that in mind when you're looking at your venue. Can you do your hair and makeup in there for you and your entire wedding party? If you can, great. But you need to be realistic, because if that's what your makeup person is going to have, think about what your hair person may also have to have as well. We have a couple of great options if you are looking to rent space the morning of. Franzetti Photography, her studio is on Maxwell Street. She is a photographer. Her space is literally made for photographs. It is light, tons of natural light coming in. There's a space to put all of your food. You can have mimosas there, easy parking. You get it for the entire day. 21C suites are great. The Hilton downtown has great suites. Some couples, some brides will do Airbnb. So just think about that when you're looking at your venue, and don't automatically assume that just because your venue has a bridal suite / dressing room, that it is big enough for you to actually do hair and makeup in.
Well, another thing to think about too, do you really want people changing in there while people are getting hair and makeup done? Because if that's the case, do you want your photographer in there while people are changing? If your photographer is a male, I'm going to assume you probably don't, want a male in there while your bridesmaids are changing. But, maybe it's somebody who knows. There's just questions for you to think about and for you to decide like what you and your bridal party you're going to be most comfortable with.
So we've talked a lot. We talked a little bit more than I thought we would.
It's
clear that you are very passionate about all things hair and makeup. For brides that are listening, how can they find you online and social media?
I have all my business names as the same on social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Glamour by Danielle. With Instagram, since you can't do spaces in the @ name, I have a period for the spaces, and Glamour is GLAMOURE by Danielle.
Okay.
Yep.
I will put that everywhere so that you can find it. I just wanted you to also say that in case somebody's driving and they can try to remember that.
Oh, I have a website too.
Okay.
I feel like most people just do social media. I think my website's just there for the people who love websites, but it's also same thing, Glamour by Danielle. You will see all my socials linked there. You'll see some pretty pictures. You can put an inquiry through social media or through the website. It all goes to the same place.
I'm going to say this, and I know you're not going to take this offensive because I don't mean it that way at all. Anytime I send you to one of my brides, I'm like, you're going to go there. And if you are not normally into hair and makeup, it may seem like a lot.
Absolutely.
Don't let that freak you out. Because you love it. You look fantastic every day.
Thank you.
Your clients look fantastic. But for someone like me that would go and look at that, it would be a lot the very first time I would look at it. So don't let that freak you out. You can do whatever you need to
Absolutely.
do when it comes to the bride and what she prefers.
Full glam is my specialty, but if you just want mascara and chapstick, I'm going to give you just a little bit more for the sake of your photos. But we can make your photos look like it's just mascara and chapstick.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Danielle.
Thanks for having me.
For more information about Simply Love Studio or to schedule your wedding consultation, go to simplylovestudio.com.